Okay, so we're on top of the hour. This is a good time to get started. Hello, everyone. Welcome. We would like to welcome you to the PhET Translator Network Information session. My name is Shola Olateju, the Africa STEM specialist here at PhET Interactive Simulation, and we're excited to have you join us. Thank you for your interest and signing up to connect and learn more about what we are doing around translating PhET sims and its related resources into the respective languages across the world. Today, we are going to learn more about the Translator Network. During the course of the call as well, you get to meet the members of the PhET Global team, but get a general guidance about what the PhET Translator Network is actually about and the application process. The session is recorded, and the link will be made available in the application guide after the event so that those who are unable to join us live can still learn and understand details or have their questions answered asynchronously. Again, we would love to know where you're joining us from. So if you would mind, please write in the chat, just like I mentioned earlier on, the country you're joining from, perhaps the context in which you teach, the grade level subject, if you work in school or out of school, just what scenarios you work. Would love to learn about you and what you're looking forward to learning today or questions you might have. And we'll be happy to get to that along the way. Today, just like I mentioned, we'll have the chance to meet the PhET Global team, and we'll also learn about what the PhET Global work is about. We're going to review the PhET Translator Network eligibility and application. We're going to review the network components and then address questions. We'll save it some minutes towards the end to address questions we might have. I am not alone on this call. Also with me and alongside with my colleague who are going to be supporting us along this journey, who are also members of the PhET Global team, are Rebecca, who is the Associate Director of PhET Global Initiative. There's Diana as well, who is the Latin America, the PhET Ambassador for Latin America. Who is the Ambassador for Africa, who are also on the call. Rebecca, Zach, would you like to say hello at this point?
Hi, everyone. My name is Rebecca. I'm in Washington, D.C., and I'm just excited to have you all here. And I guess I just want to say that any translation work that you do really does have worldwide impact. So I look forward to working with you all.
Thank you. Over to you, Zach.
Hello, everyone. My name is Zach Mbasu. I am based in Nairobi, Kenya, and I champion the use of PhET simulations in Africa. I am really excited to be here and looking forward to learning together and working with you together to make PhET simulations accessible to every language. Thank you.
Okay, great. And I'm sure Diana sends her regards. Along the way, we will also get a chance to connect and meet with her. So before we go into specific details about the network, for those joining us for the first time or who do not know as much about PhET simulation, we'll take a few minutes to just explain what the PhET project is about and how all of that relates to why we are gathered here today. So PhET was founded in 2002 by the Nobel laureate Carl Wyman. The PhET Interactive Simulation Project at the University of Colorado Boulder creates free interactive math and science simulation. The PhET sims are based on extensive education research and engage students through an intuitive game-like environment where students learn through exploration and discovery. Our goal is to make STEM learning, we would say, more engaging, where students can interact and discover key ideas by moving, of course, just trying things out themselves. Also make it relevant in terms of connecting and working in context and scenarios that is close to real life and applies to what they can connect or relate with. We also work extensively around things around accessibility features alongside learners of varying needs. So alongside being intuitive, we also ensure it's understandable, and effective as well. Is another thing. We also make sure that PhET SIMS supports learners of mathematics and science. So they use STEM practices and develop understanding around, of course, related strategies in that regard. We also ensure that, of course, this tool supports student agency, where students basically take ownership and are responsible for their learning. So it's more, encourages the student-centered approach of learning, as we've come to know it. So for us at PhET, we often say we make learning STEM more like doing STEM. At the moment, or today, we have over 190 SIMs. All are free and accessible online and offline. These SIMs are cut across the different subjects, which includes physics, chemistry, mathematics, earth science, and biology. So a little about the PhET Global Initiative now. And the PhET Global Initiative basically is an initiative focused on improving the quality of maths and science education globally. But then our focus is more increasing PhET SIMs access and impact in the world. And that is why translating into respective languages that enables students or learners who perhaps English or Spanish or some of the core languages we have currently is not their first language, can also leverage or make the use. I can feel comfortable around the language they're most comfortable with and still learn at the end of the day. And one of the initiatives of the PhET Global is the Translator Network, which I just mentioned. We have other initiatives such as the PhET Fellowship and a webinar series that holds once every month. I would encourage that we visit our website to learn more. And of course, please get involved as if there are alignments in terms of what we offer and of course, what you'd happy to support as well. So that was just a quick intro into PhET. So we'll go into the Translator Network details now, and we'll save time towards the end to answer questions that we might have. So what is the PhET Translator Network and who are we looking for? So the PhET Translator Network basically is focused on improving access, like I mentioned, and it does that by making PhET resources, which include simulation, teacher tips, which are documents that basically enable teacher understand the strategies or the thought and the design behind the scene. So they have unrelated examples that they can use in their classroom, but also our websites available in this language. So it's the simulations, the teacher tips, as well as websites available in languages across the world. And through the Translator Network, we're looking for individuals who are experienced math and science educators and are also effective communicators in multiple languages, English and any other language. These educators can be located anywhere in the world, work in formal and informal settings, have fluency in English, and at least one other language, which is more the destination language that we'll be going into. I'll take a minute. I just noticed I did not hit the record button. Okay, yes, it's been recorded now. Thank you, Rebecca, for seeing to that. So for us, it's more effective educators who are also passionate about seeing increased access and improving, of course, the teaching and learning of mathematics and science across the world. The PhET Translator members are practicing educators, like I mentioned, committed to advancing students' learning of maths and science. They're also committed to supporting localization through language and culture. And they're committed to being part of a network that understands the nuance of verbal and non-verbal communication around maths and science. So alongside working, we also ensure there's a community of support. Alongside working with the PhET team, we have people within your language, but also across the language where we can share ideas and collaborate together to increase, of course, and support the availability and access to these resources in increasing languages. At the moment, we support over 100 languages, and we're grateful to everyone who has supported this effort till now. So eligibility, I'll start by saying there's no special skill beyond some of the things we have on the screen at the moment. Translation is done in the browser using an easy tool. So there's really no special skill. And so for us, the role is more, yes, you have some bit of formal or informal maths and science, formal or informal maths and science educator. If you're translating science resources, and understanding of that domain is definitely beneficial. So we always look out for that component in translators we have worked with and those we look forward to working with into the future. Also, we expect that translators have mastery of English or proficient readers and speakers of English or Spanish. We have a different cohort for Spanish, as well as one additional language. The resources are translated from English. They already exist in English, so we're not working in English at this moment. We're working from English as the source language to a target language, which basically might apply to our various contexts or countries or the regions we are from. Also important is connectivity, because all of this is remote and is also not full-time. So apart from the less than 5 hours, about 4 hours synchronous sessions over 3 months, all of the other interactions happen asynchronously. You also get support via a WhatsApp group where we have, of course, all of the members of the network assembled, and we can ask questions and support and collaborate and also celebrate ourselves as the work progresses. So internet connectivity is a mandatory requirement, it's a very important requirement to stay connected with the work, but also because the translation work is happening online. Once you're working, you can work offline, perhaps if you know the text or you've opened the scene, but to save and then make the translation work available, then you have to be connected to the internet. We also encourage that everyone joining the call should have their videos on when we're having the synchronous sessions. We want to connect and have a vibrant, happy community, and the camera and seeing ourselves is something we encourage and appreciate as well, and a microphone so that we can always connect and speak. So internet connectivity, a camera, and a microphone is all that we say we require. So an understanding of science, any science background is sufficient. You speak English or Spanish and any other language as a source and destination language, and connectivity, camera and phone, and microphone, sorry, would be it. I'm going to post, my colleagues are going to post the link in the chat now so we can just look at that. At the moment, we would say priority languages, but it's more the languages that we support at the moment have been classified by the international standards for International Organization for Standardization. So there's a list called the ISO 639 that attempts to create a nomenclature for all languages and language groups. So all of the languages we support are on this list. So perhaps now at the end of the call, you can take them, but we expect that all languages are there. For any reason, if your language is not there, please let us know, but we might not be able to support that right now because that would require some bit of developer or technical work to make that available. But if you find your language on this list, which I expect that majority of language should exist there, then we are ready and can get started almost immediately to support and make the resources available in your language. In terms of the timeline, the applications opened at the start of the month. That was about 2 weeks, a little less than 2 weeks now, on the 1st of August, and is open up until the 1st of September. So it's open for a month, after which we expect to get back to everyone in about 5 days. By the 5th of September, we would have, of course, gotten back to everyone and informed everyone of their, of course, eligibility and acceptance into the network. And activities will start around the mid of September. And just like I mentioned, it's not a full-time role, so it does not take extensive time beyond the synchronous sessions, which are more training components of this activity. The first one that introduces us to, we'll discuss that into translating the resources. We'll discuss that further down the line on this call. So mid-September, we'll have one synchronous call where we're going to learn about sim translation. And of course, we come up with a translation plan for ourselves as well, so we can get support from the members of the team, as well as the community at large. Towards the middle of October as well, we're also going to meet again for about an hour to learn about translating teacher tips, like I mentioned earlier on. And towards the middle of October, we're going to learn about translating the PhET website. All of this happens online and do not require any additional tool except a computer and internet connectivity. And towards the middle of October, all of this will be coming to an end. So the activities of the network, the training or the active engagement portion of the network is going to run for 3 months. But also, even from past network, we still engage and have members of the group, of course, continue to collaborate and work within our communities, but we do not have like planned or scheduled calls anymore. We're going to learn more about that during the call. So activities run for 3 months from the middle of September towards the middle of October, and there are about 4 calls, one in September, one in October, one in November, each running for between 1 hour to 2 hours. In total, it will not exceed 4 to 5 hours, which is like the demand, just to be ensured that we can learn and understand how these things work, so that the work at the end of the day is at the level that is beneficial to all. So some bit of specific details about each of the months. So in September, just like I mentioned, the session is going to run for about 2 hours because it's the first call. We're going to learn a bit about each other, connect with the larger community, and just discuss at length the nuances and all of the things we've learned about translations. Of course, our experiences are definitely vital as well. So we can all learn and collaborate and see how best we can achieve the work ahead of us. So we're going to learn about, we're going to get introduced to PhET themes, translation training, and just like I mentioned, and the first month is basically going to focus on translating simulations. So we're going to learn about quality assurance, language considerations, and a couple of other stuff. And we will also come up with a personal translation plan, and then how to monitor and support each other. So how we can track so that we're also not working on the related themes concurrently. So all of that has been built into the activities, and we have scaffold or framework to support all of this along the way. Just like I mentioned, there's also a live WhatsApp group where members of the team, like you just found out, our members of our team are scattered across the world. So there's almost always someone available, irrespective of your time zone, to be able to provide support when you need that. Also in November, it's going to be about an hour call where we're going to learn. So basically around October to November, we're going to learn how to peer reviewing. Also, we also ensure that we support each other to look at what others have done, so that we have a second high to see how to improve the quality of our work. We're going to have network gatherings to discuss the progress and challenges, just like I mentioned, during those scheduled calls. And towards the end of November, we're going to have cohort celebrations, and we are also going to issue certificates as testament to, of course, the contribution to the work, but also how much the effort you've put into supporting the increased access to supporting math and science education globally. I think I should, okay, I'll take a few more slides, then I'll just open the floor more for questions. So around the application components, which I'm sure many of us have seen, and for those who have not, basically it's a free response questions you'd find across board. Some of them include things around your name and email, what you do currently, the grade level you teach, if you teach formal in school, like formally, or out of school in after school centers, or anything about where you teach is that works. We want to know more about you and the context in which you work, the subject focus and grade level you teach, and also some bit of information about your language.
Hello, we are not getting the voice. I don't know what is happening.
Oh, okay. Is that the same for everyone?
No, the audio is working fine. My guess is that he might not be connected. He might not have the appropriate input. I'll try to address it in the chat.
Okay. Cool.
Sorry about that.
Thanks, Rebecca. Okay, thank you. We'll just dive right back in. So just like I mentioned, your personal basic information about your name and email, what you do, the grade level or subjects you teach, basically just around your background in science. I think some bit of information about your language proficiency and why you want to be a part of the network, and some notes around why you want to be a part of the network, and that basically sums up the application process. And I think the final components would be including your CV, just to know a bit more about you. So it's not it does not require a lot to complete, and I'm sure you can get it done in less than an hour. Like I mentioned, some of the things we're looking out for our evaluation processes. Applicants should provide evidence of more teaching practice. Do you have experience teaching, or you've been, in whatever capacity, or you've been involved directly or indirectly? Would love to know. We also expect that you have some degree of familiarity with PhET themes, which is a very important component. It helps, it facilitates and makes it easy to understand the design and how to translate. So beyond the context of beyond the specialization of the subject perhaps, or the domain, knowing how PhET themes are built or how they work definitely is a big plus, and we always look out for that. and STEM and education preparation as well. If you have some bit of background, those are some of the things we're going to consider and just look at. Why should you be a member of the network? You can contribute to expanding PhET simulation access and impact through translation, like I explained earlier on. You can also be part of a community and connect to high motivated math and science educators globally. And you have the opportunity to influence and contribute to math and science education at a large stage, and get recognized, like I mentioned earlier as well, as an education leader through certificates and other contributions and channels. We celebrate members of our network, of the network. I will take a pause here now. I think that was a whole lot to run through in some minutes, and I would open the floor up for questions. Myself and my colleagues definitely will be here ready to answer questions you might have. If you can use the chat, but also if you'd like to speak directly, I would advise that you raise your virtual hand, and yes, we'll just let you unmute so that we can coordinate the process. So if you have a question now, this is a good time to ask. Thank you, Nini Tun. Sorry if I did not get that.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, your pronunciation is correct. Yes. Hi, everyone. I'm from Singapore. I have a 40 years experience in teaching. So what I would like to know is, right, just now you said you need the evidence of our, what I should say, the evidence of our teaching, right? What kind of evidence that you need?
So by evidence that you, it's an open and it's a free, it's an open question. Like, do you teach and what context do you teach?
Oh, I'm teaching biology.
Yeah, and that's good enough. You're a great fit if you teach biology.
Oh, okay. You don't need something like the evidence of photograph, or maybe like a document from the school. No need, right?
No, we don't need. You don't need all of that. Just let us know what you teach. Of course,
okay,
we're professionals.
sure.
We expect that your submissions are right, and that there's really no need for anyone to give us any information. But you do not need to write anything. If you have those things ready, it's okay you to share, but you do not need to go out of your way to start engaging or getting people to write letters to that effect.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes.
And I think your CV should also provide some bit of insight into your journey or experience with, as in over time. So that is sufficient for that purpose.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, great. Mama Kami is here. Please go ahead. Okay, while we're waiting.
No, I'm here, sir. I'm here. It's because you said that we can use the link and send our CVs. I've tried that and posted the CV, but the CV, the system said that the format is not supported. I tried to do that. So
okay.
Yes, because it said that you must send it as the PDF or as Word document. So I also converted that to a PDF.
I'm not particularly.
And it couldn't go through.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm sorry about the experience. I'm not sure what the reason is to be, but you can get in touch and we'll be happy to perhaps get on people and help resolve that. But if I can guess, there's a chance in the size of the document, there's a limit to how large the file can be. So trying to reduce the size might be, but yeah, please get in touch. It's our email address is phet-global@colorado.edu, and a member of the team will be happy to help you get past that, either on a quick call or just look into what the issue could be as well.
That I should connect. I should send it to you. Should I send it to you so that you can help me post it in the system?
Yes, but are you able to just get in touch? I would rather have you send via the system. I think that's more efficient. But if you just please get in touch via email and we'll find the best solution. As in, if that does not work, then I'll have you send via email. But I don't think it's a big problem, and you should be able to.
Thank you very much.
I'm going to drop the email address in the chat. Please just if you look into the chat. Thank you. Yes, yeah, please go ahead. Mama Kami Tulo, you can unmute now. Sorry, I think I got your name wrong. Okay, do you need some time? Anna can go, then we'll take you shortly after. Anna, please go ahead.
Hello, I just wonder when the live sessions will be to make sure that they don't collide with my teaching hours. I'm in South America, so for me now it's 8 o'clock in the morning. That would not be a good time for a live session. So when will they be?
Yeah, so we're on our side, we're going to be as flexible as we can, and we'll find the best time that is suitable for everybody. So at the moment, we don't have a fixed time because we're working across regions. And if there's a likelihood of having concurrent sessions, like 2 sessions to accommodate everyone, where if you can't join one, you can be able to join one that fits your time, we will consider that as well. So I do not see time as being a problem at this point, but we will have you fill a form where you propose the time that works best for you, and we'll find the sweet spot that works for everyone.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Tulo, are you ready now? I do not see you again. Okay, Rebecca, while we are waiting, I think there are a few questions in the chat. I don't know if you found any. Would you?
I can share them for you if you'd like,
Yep.
Shola. We have one question from Dawit about, do you have a translation guideline, both scientific and language-wise, so that everyone will be able to use the standard-based translation?
Yes, so we have a guide that we've created, and the essence for this session as well is to be able to learn from, of course, the experience we've gathered over time. But of course, if you have experience translating, that's why it's a diverse and wide community. Everyone's contribution is welcome. But yes, there's a guide that has been created for that purpose, and we can also connect with members of the team to support that process.
And Dawit, I also want to add, part of the intention of the Translator Network is so that you can be in touch with other people working on the same language, because there are times, and particularly with certain languages that may not have words that represent science, that have the specific scientific meaning. There's a lot of decisions that translators have to make, and it can require having a cultural understanding, a historical understanding, an understanding of, from a utilitarian perspective of, is it better to use the existing English word or to create a new word? That's part of what we hope the Translator Network will do, is give you that space to have those conversations, because we do not have guides for specific languages. We just have some general guidelines for you to consider. A question from Angelina: do all of us translate the same activities? You want to take that, Shola?
Yeah, sure. So if you take the scenes for as an example, the scene is the same, but you translate into Spanish or French or German or Yoruba in Africa, or Danish. So it's the same scene, the same teacher tip, the same web page, but then translated. That's the source, then translated into the language that you're proficient in. And that means you can unlock learners who are very proficient in that language as well, or whose language of instruction is in that language, to be able to access those resources in their local language or in their first language. Okay, I don't know.
Let's see, can I apply without having a Google account? I don't believe you can, and that's only because Google Forms require you to have a Google account to upload the CV, etc. But also we are using Google Docs in order to keep track of collaborative work. So you would need to create a Google account. A question here: what do you mean by having familiarity with PhET sims? Go ahead, Shola.
So you've used PhET sim as a learner or as an educator or teacher. You've just played with it over a period of time just to understand what PhET is and how it works, and the belief or the strategies PhET sim support. So if case in point, PhET teams are used in different contexts as demonstration to some people in all classroom and scenarios and all, but understanding those things means you can also create, support the translation of activities or understand the best way to translate the same as against the teacher-centered or teacher-focused approach, which we do not encourage. So any form of experience with PhET sim is valid.
There's a few questions here about which simulations do we translate? Are they new? Are they existing translations? Do we collaborate on the same?
Yes, so at the moment, there are about 99 sims in HTML5, and in total, there are more than 150 that are in Flash and other formats that are no longer being supported, but they're still available for use, but we do not support, or we're not developing that further. We're working towards translating all of the sim into HTML5 so that they are accessible both online, across mobile devices, online tabs, and mobile phones. So the sims, so if you have people working within the same language, we have a method to help you identify what other translators within a particular language subgroup is working on, so that we do not work on the same thing per time. And just like I mentioned, at the point of working on our translation plan, it's easy. There's a lot of transparency between the language subgroups, where we see what we're working on, we can support and see what is happening per time, and we can ask questions. Perhaps we get stuck around what's the best way to express this particular idea or concept or word, and someone who speaks your language as well can then collaborate and drop a suggestion that might help in that time.
How many translators do you wish to engage per language?
So there are no limits. The more translators we have, the faster or the easier or the more vibrant the network is. But we often look at getting a minimum 2 per language, but there's no limit. And what I would add is, considering the number, if your language has been extensively worked on, then that might set it some bit of limit. If sims have already. So there are languages that we've already started working on. Perhaps we have about 50 simulations translated already, or 80 simulations of 99, but we've not translated teacher tips and websites. And there's a lot of opportunity in that regard. And I would also add here that increasingly we keep publishing new sims. So the translation work in quotes really does not end. So as much as we try to get all of the sims translated now, more activities will be created, and there'll be changes and updates to the web pages, and new sims will get published. The existing sim as well will get translated into HTML5. So everyone is welcome, and we have translators who have worked with us since inception of over the past 9 to 10 years, who are still supporting the work in different ways. Perhaps once a sim gets translated, they have a look and then support and make it available for themselves and their students as well. But I should add here as well, how much of effort and time we have and we're willing to put into support the work is a decision we have to make. We're happy and willing to support and glad to have you on board as much as possible. But if you're available within this active period as well, yes, please welcome to join. If you think you want to continue to work over the distance, like over the next 10 years as well, we'll be right here with you as in supporting, and glad to have you on board.
We have a question about, why is having a microphone important? Are we supposed to translate orally or by typing the text we translate?
All translations are in text. So by microphone, it can be your laptop or your phone mic. We just need to be sure that you're able to communicate. When we have exchanges like this or the synchronous sessions, we always encourage and have everyone speak or contribute to the conversation. We would not like a session where you're unable to speak because your mic is broken and you have something valuable to ask, to contribute, or a vital question to ask during the call. We also would like everyone to connect, which is why we encourage cameras and audio functional during each of the calls.
Hi, everyone.
Yeah, hi.
Thank you so much for this meeting. It reminds me of a lot of things that we did with other teachers before. I just wanted to ask a simple question. I think maybe someone has asked it before, but I did not hear it. In these meetings that we have, so for example, we have the Swahili language that is spoken in, I guess, 5 different countries, right? We have Swahili in Tanzania, Kenya, Uganda, Burundi, I'm not so sure about Rwanda, if it's so much, and Congo. Now for the Swahili language, definitely there is a formalized, there are formalized words which will be used in the translation. They'll be common throughout the countries. But then, as you said, in some languages, we do not have a specific word for a given scientific property or activity. And then translators have to decide on which word to be used, right? Now, is this decision, is it unanimous or is it region-based?
So
let me maybe if I rephrase it with an example. So for example, you have a property, for example, how can I put it? Simple property, maybe tensile, a material that is tensile. Maybe in Kenya, they have a word in a certain dialect that is exactly that, maybe Kikuyu, and they put it in Kiswahili, and it's known all over the country, and the students know this word, that it will mean an object is tensile. And then in Tanzania, we don't have any word for it. We use English. And then in Congo, they have a different word. So is this decision made unanimously that we'll use the Kenyan or Congo word, or the remain with the English word? Or do we just split it as regions? Okay, now in this region, in Swahili from Tanzania to remain as English. In Swahili from Kenya, you use the word from Kikuyu. And in Congo, they'll use maybe a French word that they already know.
Yeah, thank you for asking that. So something we support is variation, like those regional variations for a particular language. And a good example is the Arabic language, where there are very distinct variation between perhaps countries and region. So you'd have Arabic Saudi Arabia, for example, and Arabic Morocco, and Arabic Tunisia, where we have like such as in vast variation between those languages. But in cases where it's just one-off and it's not recurring, what we've seen is the translator often would go with his language. And if a teacher or students recurring, we have a feedback mechanism as well, where teachers recall or report confusing words. We find a way to then resolve that. But what I've noticed in that case is the translator at that point often would use a word that is most comfortable with, or that seems to relate with him, because I'm not sure, he might also not know what applies in the other language, except he's a native speaker of that language and understand the variation. So that often would work in that case. But based on the feedback we get, if there are conflicts, we can then decide if we want to split those languages or find a way to manage that so that there are no confusions. The goal at the end of the day is to enable students learn this subject effectively and remove ambiguity and confusion as much as possible.
Okay, one last question. Thank you so much. The answer was great. We have an organization in Tanzania, and I guess also in Kenya, the organization that is responsible for the Swahili language. It's called BAKITA in Kiswahili. Now, Swahili is growing, and now they're making new words, different words that are coming with. So they're going into our dictionary of Swahili. These words may not be famous. So in the translation, when we have the meeting, do these words take precedence? Because later on, there'll be official words that we start, and the students should start familiarizing with them right now? Or are they at a stage which is premature that they might change in the future, depending on, societies, they go on and they use whatever it is that they like to use. But there is an organization which has words for scientific definitions, but they are very new. They're new to anyone. They're new to students, they're new to teachers. The words are new to everyone, but they are there.
Yeah, so thanks for asking, and you've asked very important questions, and those are like the exciting component of translating resources, but also the difficult parts. There's really no direct answer to that. And what we have is we have those subgroup discuss and agree on the best way forward. And like I mentioned earlier on, it is important that we eliminate and remove the reason for translating in the first place is to take away every form of confusion and ambiguity and make it easily accessible. If a word is completely new and would confuse a student, then I would revert to a language that they're most comfortable with. If a word is a new and is standard more like, and it's more something that is now going to be used in their books and is being used in school, then I will definitely support the use of that language, because apart from the scene, it's also going to be supported by teachers and the educators or context in which they are learning. So, which is why the subgroup is important as well, where we can just share ideas, collaborate, and find the best way to address those issues. There's really no one size or perfect example for all languages. Different scenarios and examples or cases will come up at different points, but we'll find the best ways to leverage them. Some of the things we've done in the past is have departments, like you mentioned, also go ahead and have a look into translation that have been worked on within a particular language or subgroup, where they can then advise, oh, this is alongside us as educators and students who can use. They can also look at and then say, oh, this word is confusing. A good example I would give is at the moment, as of course, because this is a science domain as well, we speak a lot about data, but we're gathering data, but in certain contexts or regions, data translates into like buying credit or topping up your phone. And for students in particular contexts, that can be confusing. So paying attention to data that is supposedly general and that can translate or mean something else is also some nuances that we also discuss and pay attention to, and find ways to manage confusion, to just ensure we are aware of some of these things and we can work around or in spite of these things to support students' understanding of the concept or the science that we want them to better understand.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And thanks for your questions. Thank you so much for all the questions till now. We still have a couple more minutes and we are happy to take the questions, more questions. If there are no questions, I'm going to ask, so when are we applying, or why would you not apply to be a part of the network? Yeah, please feel free to ask questions if you have one. But if there are no questions, you can also contribute. What do you expect of the Translator Network? What type of support would you, from your understanding of what we've shared now, or thoughts or ideas you came into this call with, what do you expect from the Translator Network? How does this program meet your expectation? And what do you want to apply, or why and why not? My friend from Tanzania, I'm sorry, I didn't get your name. I have everyone on screen. Do you want to give a shot at that?
Yes, my name is Ridwan Msea, and the reasons why I would apply for the program, it's to try and help the students that are not studying in English medium schools. So the teachers from English medium schools, they can benefit from PhET simulations, and the students can benefit from them. So regardless of the lack of equipment and everything else, but they can try, maybe they can show a video. I remember we had a meeting before, you show it as a video, like you're doing it yourself to all the students, and it will work. But for students who are in villages and those who are in remote places, usually they study everything in Swahili, even in secondary education, whereby the books are in English, but the teacher will have to teach in Swahili. Like they do not understand the English words very properly. But when we mark exams, for example, we see this happening. Someone cannot define density because they're trying to memorize. From this word comes this word and that word. But the calculation for density, they always get it correct all the time. So with PhET simulation, when you explain all of these concepts using the simulation in Swahili, then they might have problems in the exams or in their concept of exactly what density is, what word, but they'll not have trouble calculating. So we can try and promote whatever the advantages are, and then we can stamp out the weaknesses, and the translation program is very important for them in order to be able to use this resource. But if it will be in English, then again, they'll face obstacles all the way.
Awesome, thanks for sharing. And we also saw a couple of similar cases as well during COVID, where kids were at home. We saw languages that perhaps were averaging, say, 500 monthly go into their thousands because of that. So opportunities definitely would happen, and usage patterns definitely would grow. But we cannot stress enough how important this initiative or your contribution to this work can be in actually translating and transforming and creating opportunities for learners or students who perhaps might never have access because they have to either go to English and then translate to their local language, which for them make things a bit more difficult or complicated. So we're grateful for your work, and we definitely appreciate everyone who have contributed up until now. We have 2 hands raised. Hector, please unmute and ask. Contribute.
Yeah, hi. The reason for my applying for or wanting to work for this translator network being, I work with students for whom English is not their first language. It's quite a task for them to read the textbooks, which are mostly available in English. And during the COVID, we got more exposure to all these kind of open educational resources. Having them in the local language would help the increased uses of the same, and this is something which can work very well in a low resource country like us, where thinking of having somebody develop these simulations would be, I don't know whether it would be possible or not, but having these in the local language would be very, very beneficial for my students. And that is why I really want to volunteer for this work. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Eugene, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I'm Yugen Kulkarni from India, and I want to join this because, as previously told, there are a lot of people, a lot of students who have problem with English. But I would also like to add one thing, that if something is there in their mother tongue, then it will feel more connected, and the student might love the teaching or the learning process. So that's why I have joined this, and I am also, as a teacher, with using PET simulations. So that's why
Sorry, we lost you there. Are you still with us? Yeah, thank you for contributing. Perhaps we'll just, once you're back on, we'll come back to you again. Lone is here. Please go ahead.
Hello, it's Ioannis.
Ioannis, so sorry.
No problem. I'm calling from Greece. I'm a huge fan for the PhET simulations. I've been using it as a teacher. Now I'm working at the university, and I'm also using it with my students, which they are going to be teachers at some point when they graduate. So I've been following PhET for a really long time. I'm also one of the translators of the Greek website for PhET.
Awesome.
So yeah, I've been following you, and I'm a huge fan. I would really like to contribute however I can, and I'm very happy to be part of this huge network of teachers and translators.
Okay. Thank you so much, Ioannis, and thank you for your contribution up until now. We can't stress enough a lot of the feedback and great words, of course, learners share about this access they get. We do not take your contributions for granted. Thank you. Are there any other questions or contributions? We're still very much ahead. Rebecca, do you have any thoughts or questions?
No, I don't have any other questions. I guess I do just want to say there's a couple of, so thank you first of all to Ioannis for all of that work. One of the things that we're trying to do more and more is, so we provide a certificate at the end of the program, but we also provide a certificate to anybody who translates if they request it. And we are trying to pull data from our analytics to show exactly how many people are using your translated simulations, because we're able to actually click on, in our analytics, we can look at the simulations you specifically translated. And for many teachers over the years, it can be hundreds of thousands, even millions of students who end up using your translations. So we're so grateful for that. And we also hope that that makes people feel good about their work as well. Yeah, So I guess that's all I wanted to say. I don't see any additional questions here.
Okay, thank you so much, Rebecca. Thank you everyone for joining today's sessions. If there are no other questions, I think we will draw the curtain here. Just a quick reminder of what the timeline is. So applications are due by the end of the month. So there's still about 20 more days before it's due. It will take you about an hour or less to complete the application. So you does not take a lot of time. About 4 to 5 hours synchronous sessions to be able to join. We encourage that you join, but we also record the sessions for those who do not, who for whatever reason are not going to make it. The timing for the call, we would ensure that we find the time that works the best for everyone. And if we have to run 2 sessions for each of these these synchronous meetings to be able to fit everyone's time, then we would not hesitate to do that. And yeah, activities will start middle of September up until the middle of October, where we'll have celebrations, events, and of course we'll share with the larger community a network of translators and the work they've contributed. And we'll be looking forward to seeing how learners pick that up and how much of a transformation and change we can contribute to science and mathematics learning across the world. Thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate your time and we look forward to working with you. Thank you and bye for now.
Hello, Salah. I have one
Thank you very
question.
much.
Hello.
Yeah, hi.